And I was like, it's not that hard to run a business. Like, you just have to make things quicker, convenient, have a system for employees, because people don't think ahead, right? They don't.
It's unfortunate.
And I mean, I want to ask you too about that, about your employees and how the turnover rate is with you, because the last 3 years they've been pretty non-existent. Nobody wanting to work because of unemployment. But for some strange reason, Dennis, in the last 2 weeks, every single day, people are taking applications. I have no idea why. And you know what?
I can definitely agree with you that it's been very, very difficult to get employees in. It's been almost impossible to get a good employee. We have hired people, and they don't even show up on the first day that they're supposed to work.
You know what?
Hey, I'll tell you a great story.
Yeah, tell me.
It's a horrible story.
Good. It doesn't matter. Stories are good. Good or bad, they're good.
I want you to hear this because it blew my mind. Okay. You put an ad, whatever, however you get the people in, put in Indeed to get them in to do an interview. Okay. So we put an ad in, I think it was on Indeed, and this 18-year-old young man was supposed to come in for the interview. So this lady came in, and she mentioned she was there for the interview for whatever. I don't remember the young man's name.
Well, she was coming in as
She was the mother. Okay, and I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm like, is he parking the car or something? And she's like, no, I'm going to be taking the interview. And I'm like, well, what do you mean you're going to be taking the interview? Yeah, he's not going to, I'm going to take the interview for him. And I'm like, well, I need to talk to him because I need to interview him to see if he's going to be a fit for this. And she goes, well, I'm going to do the interview for him. And sometimes I can be sarcastic. Okay, so I go, well, will you be coming in and cleaning the urinals for him too? And she goes, oh, he won't be cleaning urinals. And I'm like, well, if he wants to come in, I'm still willing to do the interview with him, but I will not do an interview for your 18-year-old son with you. That blew my mind. Can you imagine applying for a job and having your mom go in and do the interview with you? Isn't that crazy? And it was apparently. Places. How does one location compete with 2,800? And we have to. We have to have those same rates. And that, but I'll just give you an idea. That 12 station that we put in, okay, $30,000 for this one piece of equipment in the club, and you know how much equipment's in that club.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
So just that one piece of equipment. How many $10 a month memberships do you have to pay for one piece of equipment? $30,000 at $10 a month. That's a lot of people.
Is it 3,000 or something?
Yeah, well,
3,400
to get $30,000.
Yeah.
At $10 a month. So you think about it. That's one expense. Then you got the water and the sewer. Okay, you got the PG&E. You got workers' comp. You got insurances, general liability insurance, fire insurance. You have inspections. You got the fire inspection. I mean, you got your AC units. They have to be serviced. You got the parking lot has to be cleaned. Every day, that place has to be cleaned. That's a dedicated employee just cleaning. $2,000 or $3,000 a month just cleaning.
Mm-hmm.
It's like all that stuff. You're looking at $20,000-$30,000 a month just to break even. And you're paying $10 a month, and you're getting to use it for an entire month. It's like, that's hard to stay in business when you're doing that. Look, if I was getting $100 to $200 a month from everybody, it would be no problem. But when your margins are that low, it makes it tough.
So during the pandemic, did that make everything worse? I don't know if you can talk about you don't have to. I mean, we can edit this out. It's no big deal. But
we stayed open.
Yeah. So before the pandemic, was it real good? And then did the pandemic help? And then after, is it kind of going down? How's that whole thing playing out there?
So there was 5 or 6 weeks, I think, because there was first 15 days to slow the spread, and then it ended up morphing into 30 days. We stayed closed for 5 weeks, and then I called the city, and I don't know if you want to edit this out, but I go, hey, I'm going to open back up. Are you going to pull my license? And they said, we don't have any intention on doing that, but you need to go strictly by the guidelines that the CDC put out. So we put up the signs, 6 foot. We had everybody. We always had to wipe down your equipment policy and that, but that was strictly enforced. We had hand sanitizer everywhere, things to wipe everything down. And then, the law enforcement loved it because they really didn't have any place to go, so they got to come in and work out again. And then, so we were very strict on what we would let go in there. We never required you to put a mask on. And this is where I go back to, I don't feel that I have the right to make you wear something. We said, if you want to wear it, that's fine. If you don't, you don't have to. But everybody knew that you weren't required to wear the mask in the building, but you were required to wipe down your equipment. We had the hand sanitizer and everything there. So, I don't think we broke any rules or broke any laws.
Nobody died. No, there was no spreading events or nothing.
I think it was 9 or 10 months after we opened back up that we had the first member that said that they had COVID, but that was in the club. But they had caught it when they were at like a family get together, and it wasn't at the gym. Just think about it. If you have any idea how much we spend on janitorial supplies and cleaning supplies that go through that's probably the cleanest place, cleaner than the hospitals, with the amount of cleaning, the bleach and the Virex, and we use the same stuff that hospitals use to clean that stuff. It gets cleaned. It should theoretically be cleaned out after everybody's use. You'll have somebody that will not do it, and we've told them, you wipe down that equipment or you can't be here anymore, and we had to get rid of a few people because of that. But for the most part, everybody's wiping down their equipment, and there was no cases out of that club to my knowledge.
Yeah. When COVID started, I wasn't worried about it myself, right? I was just worried to give it to my parents because they're older. I don't know how
they're susceptible to it.
Yeah. And they're old school immigrants that were always at the business.
They've probably seen a lot more than you and I have both.
Yes. Harder life, right?
Right.
And it was hard to keep them home, right? They wanted to come. I'm like, no, you have to. So that was the only thing that I would wear, because I remember like having an instant where like, what if I get it and I fucking give it? But this is like the beginning couple months, I didn't really worry about it because I was like, you know what? If it happens, it fucking happens. I don't know. We don't know the truth. Is this the Spanish flu?
Know.
Is it the Spanish flu? I don't know, but the Spanish flu was a different time and there's different medicine. I think they invented.
Is that wine?
No, I think tap on it. Or?
Yeah.
No, I think it was mine. Okay, we're good. But I think there was like, I don't know if it was vaccines that they created back then or some kind of like penicillin, right? Because I don't think it existed during the Spanish flu. I mean, I was a little worried because they said the second year was when it got worse. But after that, I was like, this is...
Yeah.
If you really look at it, people work jobs they don't like. Crazy amount of stress. Don't work out. Don't take care of themselves, right? Like that was one thing I told myself, I'm just going to sleep 8 hours and not overanalyze and overthink things. Because I've seen that I think it's like a comorbidity. It's not really COVID. And I mean, you've been part of the health industry for like most part of your life, right? What did you look at it when you seen everything going down, and what did you think, like, if you just take care of yourself, that's a breast
Well, I think
preventative?
there was an overreaction. I really do. Because if you look at death rates from COVID and other more deadly things, let's take tuberculosis. Every year it kills millions of people, which is higher than the amount of people who died from COVID. Why aren't we making, why isn't that a priority? I mean, there's other things out there that, are super important that should be dealt with that aren't because of this one thing. And I'm just going to go to Fauci for a minute. Do you remember back when AIDS first came out?
Yeah.
Okay. Guess who was in charge of that pandemic, whatever you want to
It
call
was Fauci, was it?
It was Fauci. And guess what Fauci said back then in the early 90s or whenever?
You get it
whatever.
from spit or something, right?
No, that's not the important thing he said. He said that we need to shut this economy down until there's a vaccine.
Wow.
Okay. What does that sound like? 30 years later, 25, 30 years later, no vaccine. And we seem to be dealing with it just fine. And now we have to shut this economy down until there's a vaccine. He's been saying that thing for 25, 30 years. And then to come to find out that he was funding the research in the lab where it came from.
Yeah.
I mean, why isn't that front page news? Why aren't we digging into that? Why aren't we looking at that? If this is such a deadly disease, wouldn't you want to know every possible thing you could about it so that it never happens again? And wouldn't you want to know who was behind building that deadly virus? You would think that would be something that you'd want to do.
Do you know about the lab leak theory?
Well, first it was a monkey. Are you talking about COVID?
Yeah. So
first it was somebody ate monkey brains.
Or
they got it in the wet market.
It was a bat.
Whatever it was.
I know. It's all misinformation, right? And that's what happens when you have these huge media corporations who are paid by pharmaceuticals.
Now, who benefited from all this?
Pharmaceuticals.
Oh my God. Just Pfizer alone, I think, made $5 billion in COVID shots. And that's paid by the government. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, where does the government get their money? Oh, that's right. Us. So we paid for all of it.
Yeah.
Like we do everything.
Yeah.
Everything the government is, because, who was it? AOC? Because, well, the government just needs to pay everybody a living wage and all this. And I'm like, where's the government to get the money? Because I seriously don't think she knows where the government gets its money. So, but did you notice how she didn't like the fact that she was getting taxed at a certain rate?
No, I didn't know.
Isn't that crazy? It's like her and Elizabeth Warren. I don't know. They're so, disconnected from society and what's actually happening. And she was a bartender. That would be the most connected place you would be with what's happening inside the water. Maybe, I don't know where she was a bartender at. Maybe it was maybe it was a ritzy place, and I don't know. But anyway.
Yeah, I think it's how you say people are disconnected to society, and like it almost seems like comedians because they're traveling, they're going up and down the United States, seeing everything because they have to kind of gauge wherever they're at what makes that person laugh. What's going on here? Like
right.
They have more insight than government officials, right? Because I think once you become a government official, it's kind of hard to know what you're doing because everything just starts changing for you. I don't know if you want to just get reelected over and over and that becomes your priority.
Well, I would imagine that for a certain percentage, it's all about staying in that position. Just look at the people that have been there 30, 40 years. I think term limits is paramount. I think it has to come through. We have to have term limits. You can't have Schumer. You can't have McConnell. You can't have Pelosi. You can't have these people there 30 or 40 years because this is what you get. They play politics all the time, and they're playing politics with our lives and our money. This Pelosi's husband just got, finally got charged with DUI. If that was you and I that were in a wreck like that, we'd have been charged that same night. It was weeks later before he even got charged with DUI. And that a lot of people don't know.
Where do they live? Where did he crash? Do you know?
I thought it was down in the Bay Area somewhere.
I don't know.
But 50 years ago, he killed his brother in a car accident.
Really?
It's like nobody knows about that.
I don't know if this is correct or not, but I remember somebody was saying like when they were building the train, like Pelosi's husband was in charge of the construction or was one of the companies that was building. And
also Dianne Feinstein.
Oh, Feinstein. It might have been Feinstein.
Right,
yeah.
right. So,
and she's still in office, right?
Of course she is.
Jesus Christ.
Do you remember, I don't know, probably 6-7 years ago, I may get this date wrong, but do you remember when Maxine Waters' driver, remember it was Chinese, they connected him to the Chinese military. And it's like she goes, well, as soon as we found out about this.
Was she in Davis?
I don't know where she was at. No, she was a Maxine, or not, Barbara Feinstein.
Okay.
Dianne Feinstein. Her driver was associated with the Chinese military. Okay. And the FBI notified her of this issue, but nothing came of it. No investigation. The point I was wanting to get to here is, do you know who Eric Swalwell is?
No.
Okay, he's a representative from California. 3-4 years ago, he had a little spat on, I think, Twitter. I'm not on Twitter. I'll probably never be on Twitter. But he had a little spat with somebody, and the conversation that Swalwell said was that, the government, is going to, do whatever control they want. We have nukes, and they're legit. Now, he was having a conversation with an American citizen. So a representative of Congress threatens a citizen with nukes. Okay, and I still have I did a little clip of it and kept it because I'm like, this is gold. I mean, these guys say whatever they want. I mean, that's a threat. If you and I had the capability of threatening somebody with a nuclear weapon, who do you think the first person is going to be at your door?
FBI.
FBI. Yeah. That awesome organization, that falsified documents and pled guilty to falsifying documents to spy on an innocent United States citizen. That's the great FBI that will be knocking at your door. But not only did Eric Swalwell say that, he was sleeping, okay, with a Chinese spy. I forget her name, but you can look it up. You got to take my word. Okay. You got to take my word for it. But he's sleeping with him. It's like he's on the intelligence committee for, I believe, foreign affairs and stuff like that. Which I should probably look up before I say that. But he's on one of the committees. I don't know if it's foreign intelligence. I think he's on the intelligence committee. Sleeping with a spy. I was like, and guess what? Walking around like nothing happened to him. Nothing happened to him. Still on the committee.
Crazy.
That's nuts.
Yeah, it never ends, right? With the government and everything they're doing wrong.
It's horrible.
So, what do you believe in them with like fiat and the Federal Reserve and everything that they've done, printing more money than they ever have in the history of the United States?
Well, that's why we're going to be going into a recession. You can't.
It's not the war in Russia that's causing.
No. Are you kidding me? Look at the inflation. Look at the inflation before Putin even went into Russia. We were at like 5 or 6%. It was already way up there. But you can't print trillions and trillions of dollars and flood it into the system and expect it to be fine. We're going into a recession. I don't care if you like it or not. You don't have to believe me. Just wait.
I know it is. I mean, this is the thing that scared me in 2008. It hurt our family real bad just because bad decisions, having multiple homes, not letting those homes go when your sales are cut in half, right? And my parents, they're Mexican. They didn't listen, right? And they made a lot of mistakes, and they're barely recovering. Like
It takes a long time.
Takes
to
a
figure
long time.
yourself out.
Yeah. And ever since that, when I found out about Bitcoin and Satoshi Nakamoto, I was always like, is this real? Is this real? Right? Like, I didn't believe it, right? But they say it was a mathematician, scientist. His name is Hal Finney. He's dead now. And his, whatever he has, hasn't been, he'd be like a multi-trillionaire maybe by now if it hit 60K, because right now it's like about 20K. But a lot of people, when they bought it back in like 2010, $100 made you a millionaire when it hit 20K, right? So I've
Which
always,
is a good investment. If you think that, if you're just in it to make the money, I think that there's nothing wrong with that. That's the American way, because we all got to make money.
well, to me, it's an insurance, because the government, like you said, right? Everything that you're talking about, the government. Like when what happened in 2008, I remember, everyone getting bailed out, but everybody else, right? And that was like one of the worst things possible. I was like, I wonder, what can somebody do? Like, I started thinking maybe I just have to have a farm, and grow my own food, have my own animals. I was thinking that was the only way. And I've been buying Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies just in case, as an insurance. Like, if gas goes at $10 to $12 a gallon, diesel's going to be more expensive, and everything's delivered, right? There's going to be no more deliveries. There's going to be no truck drivers. Everything's going to have to become local, which should be good, because farmers really can't make any money. They should be able to grow their own crops, their own thing, and sell even from the side of the road. That should be normal, and then you're not going to have a choice if you don't have groceries from Target and Walmart. But on the far end of the spectrum, you're going to have people who always depended on that, who don't know what to do, and they're just going to start stealing and robbing. And sometimes you have to go through something bad like that for something better to take over. And the reason I liked cryptocurrency was not really, I didn't think it was going to be what it can be, right? Like, everything being decent. Do you know anything about decentralized and like Web 3.0?
Well, probably not enough.
So, do you know about Ethereum?
No, I don't believe so.
Well, because a lot of so Bitcoin was the first cryptocurrency that I think only 21 million can be made. You have to mine it with a computer. Now you have to have big rig, like crazy rig setups, right, to mine this algorithm. And but all it was really made was so you and me can exchange a digital currency, right? You don't need,
because it doesn't really exist.
Well, just like fiat money, right?
If you don't have computers, you don't have cryptocurrency.
Well, so the blockchain is in the internet. So unless the internet, so if the internet was to die, which kind of can't happen, because you know what the ARPANET is.
You don't think the internet could go away?
So I don't think it is. The reason I believe it was, so the ARPANET was a military communication system. That's what the internet was born from, right? So in case there was nuclear war or something, there was a way for the government to communicate from, the East Coast, the Midwest and whatnot. That's what the ARPANET is. And that's what the internet was coming out of. I have a feeling that technology is going to advance. You're going to have Starlink, right, with the satellites.
That's already up and running.
So, and it's really expensive. But if you have a cell phone connection and you can get Wi-Fi, you can attach cryptocurrency in a JPEG or a SMS message. So you don't need, the thing is.
But as long as this man-made system is functioning, you have Bitcoin.
Yes.
If there was this apocalypse, like you're saying, and you have to grow your own food, there would be no more Bitcoin.
No, yeah, correct. Because it's a reset for all of humanity, right?
Right. So two things. The first thing I'm gonna say is, do you think the government is gonna allow a currency that they can't control to run wild in our society, because they won't be able to collect anything from it. You know, if they can't control it, they can't make money off of it. They're gonna not allow it. So they're gonna have to eventually get their fingers into it and be making money off of this. Okay, the government's gonna do that.
So
The government's never gonna let a currency go that they can't control.
no, I know. So right now you buy off centralized exchanges, right? Where you have, it's called KYC, know your customer. They say it's to protect you so your stuff doesn't get stolen, and it's exactly what you're saying. So if you bought 10 years ago, there's no way of no one knowing, because all you do is you grab it off the exchange, you put it on your hardware wallet, and you're off, you know. And the hardware wallet, you have to, you can connect it to a computer, and inside one Bitcoin, which not everyone has it, there's 100,000 Satoshis. So you can move
But you
it.
know way more about it than I do.
Well, I think it's important that people know about it, because even if you buy $500, $100 right now, even when the market's down, it's some kind of insurance just in case. Don't leave it on the exchanges. Even if the government knows that you bought it, it's something that can be worth something in 5 to 10 years. Because look at, if you would have bought 10 years ago, $100, you're a millionaire, right?
Probably
Multi-millionaire. And that's just the way I look at it, as in, because my long-term plan is buy some land. I don't know where, maybe here, if I can get it for cheap. And I mean, I hate to say I want a crash to happen, but I want land and I want to grow cattle and everything, but I want to do it different, because there's a regenerative farming where you actually have animals on your farm and they graze and they live in harmony with the land, because the poop, right, produces better soil. And there's a guy, I forget, Zepp something, who was in Austria, who created this whole permaculture, and it's about building ponds first, which take 2 to 3 years, and those ponds get full of water, and then you have like pipes and stuff running, feeding other ponds. So if you have ducks, they're pooping in that pond, and you're using that poop to fertilize other parts of your land where you don't need river or you don't need a drill. You have a pond collecting all that water, and your land becomes a sponge. It becomes fire resistant. It becomes drought resistant if you know what you're doing.
Right.
You need to get a big, you have to have a big backhoe to create that pond and elevated terraces.
Does that backhoe run on battery power, or does it run on fossil fuel?
Diesel, of course.
So I listened to Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, and they think, and I don't know, you know way more about Bitcoin than I do, and probably more than I'll ever know. But they think that Bitcoin is going to flop miserably and completely just be non-existent. Now, I don't know, but they've made a lot of money, you know, so they probably know more about making money than I do.
Well, so what happens though, Dennis, if we have the worst recession since even the Depression, right? And
well,
the dollar.
Hopefully, I've saved enough that I can get through it.
I don't know, because you see how everything is getting so expensive, right? And that's the thing that I have always worried about, was a crazy crash where the fiat. It's not that it's going to be worthless. But what's a peso worth in Mexico, right?
Yeah.
You get 20 pesos for $1. Something of that matter is going to happen. And I mean, I think the government's creating a digital currency. It's called the CDC or something around, and it's supposed to release in July. And my nephew,
So
I
this
think,
is going to be a government Bitcoin type
well, centralized exchange. Right. And what my nephew was telling me about it was, it's kind of going to become like, I think it's going to become like a digital food stamps, where if you don't spend it right in like a month, or they're going to give you like a limit of, so let's say they give everybody $1,000 or $500, whatever, I don't know, right? Universal basic income.
Mm-hmm.
I say digital food stamps because they know where it's going, and if you don't use it in a certain amount of time, it goes away. And you know how you're saying the government wants their tentacles and
They
everything.
want to control everything.
And some people want that though. Some people want to feel safe.
I'm amazed at how many people blindly follow along with whatever goes on. It's like that's not how we got founded. That we refuted that. We didn't want that. We didn't want that dictatorship or the totalitarian regime. We didn't want a queen. I mean, straight up, we didn't want a queen. So why would you want to go back? How many people do you see flocking to these socialist countries? I mean, think about it. How many people are just dying to get into Brazil or Nicaragua?
I mean,
you don't see lines on the border like they are here. Why would all these people want to come here? Because technically we're not a socialist country. Why would all those people want to come here? Because we're the only place in the world that truly has the most freedom. And we have a congressman right now that I believe was born in the Ukraine. And she says, you don't want socialism here. You don't want that here. There's a reason why those people want to come here. They want to escape that. And the problem we have is we have a lot of people here that have never lived in a socialist country, don't really know what socialist countries do and what rights that you don't really have. And they're pushing for that. They have no idea what they're pushing for. They haven't researched it. They haven't looked into it. They see stuff on TV and they just blindly follow. And that should scare everybody.
And social media, right? Because I think people have the short attention spans. Do you ever listen to Joe Rogan?
I have seen him.
Have you listened to a podcast though? Like
I've listened. He had a Elon Musk on.
You listen to that one?
I think they were smoking weed or something on it or something like that. And I listened to it for a while. And I follow. You know who Thomas Sowell is? Look him up. You know who Larry Elders is? He ran for our governor.
Yeah.
Candace Owens. Yeah. So Larry Elders and Candace Owens are followers of Thomas Sowell. Thomas Sowell's been around. He's probably in his 90s now. I think he's probably one of the most intellectual people in the world. He probably wouldn't.
He has like AM radio or.
He's written many books.
Okay.
But look him up and just look into some. You can even go on YouTube and just put Thomas Sowell in there.
Okay.
And just watch a couple of the interviews and stuff that they do, and that guy knew more about what was going on in the whole world than anybody in the world. This guy is so in tune, and it's just, I think he should be taught in every school in this nation. And just a brilliant guy. I can't remember. He's a professor at one of the colleges. I don't want to say which one it is because I can't remember. But just an absolute genius as far as I'm concerned. And the thing I like about him and Larry Elders is they will hit you with the facts in that. And it's really hard to come back when you don't have facts to back you up. And those two are just absolutely on their game. They don't get into arguments where they don't know all the facts of it. And they will, they'll eviscerate you. They're like they're geniuses. And I think everybody should be studying them because we would be less, touchy-feel-good. We'd understand a lot more about our history. And I think unless you understand the history, the true history, that you're always going to fall for these socialist programs. And it's going to continue.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like certain things in life are important. I think you have to work out. I think you have to try to watch what you eat, right? Where the food's coming from. You
have one body and you have to use it your whole life. So you should take care of it, right? If you had one car, if you could buy any car you wanted, any car, pick out any car you wanted, but it's the only car you'll ever have the rest of your life, you'd want to take care of that car. Because if it breaks down, there's no other car. You have one body. You have to take care of it for your entire life. And if you don't, then you're going to go to the medical system.
Yeah, right. And that's what the gym is, right? Preventative care, right? You can,
We've had so many people come in there that the doctors got them on heart medication, and just by starting to do cardio and that, 6 months later they're coming in all smiles like, doctor took them off my heart pills, I don't have to take them anymore, all because they're working out, and that's what the gym's for.
yeah. And I think kind of what's going on is there's so much instant gratification from likes, comments, whatever, to
Oh my god, I only got
convenience.
4 likes this week. Oh, what did I do wrong? Like, seriously.
Depression, they get depressed
right.
over that. But the convenience, right? Starbucks,
Oh.
In-N-Out. Well, In-N-Out is actually it's a good hamburger because they actually have butchers and stuff, and they don't give you what McDonald's and everybody else is giving you.
Their
Like,
drive-through line is normally long.
I was there yesterday. It was about an hour plus.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. That's what my parents kind of like on a Sunday sometimes, and yeah, it took about an hour. But I'm all for businesses that are doing things the correct way, right? They're not giving you the shavings from the ground inside the bandsaws, and that's something that a lot of people did you see?
I'm wishing you hadn't told me that.
You didn't see the documentary on pink slime?
No.
Okay, we won't get into it because I talked about it, I think on my last interview.
Now.
But when you eat fast food, you don't feel sick, Dennis? Because I do. So like when I started working I left the small business in 2008, came back in 2017 and took over this year. And just by accident, just because my folks didn't want to listen to anything in 2008. And I never thought I'd be back. And my mom had to go visit my grandpa in Mexico. He had prostate cancer. She was there for longer. I saw all these issues, fixed them. And I was like, it's not that hard to run a business. Like, you just have to make things quicker, convenient, have a system for employees because people don't think ahead, right? They don't.
It's unfortunate.
And I mean, I want to ask you too about your employees and how the turnover rate is with you, because the last 3 years they've been pretty non-existent. Nobody wanting to work because of unemployment. But for some strange reason, Dennis, in the last 2 weeks, every single day, people are taking applications. I have no idea why. And you know what?
I can definitely agree with you that it's been very, very difficult to get employees in. It's been almost impossible to get a good employee. We have hired people, and they don't even show up on the first day that they're supposed to work.
You know what?
I'll tell you a great story.
Yeah, tell me.
It's a horrible story.
Good. It doesn't matter. Stories are good. Good or bad, they're good.
I want you to hear this because it blew my mind. Okay. You put an ad, whatever, however you get the people put in Indeed to get them in to do an interview. Okay. So we put an ad in, I think it was on Indeed, and this 18-year-old young man was supposed to come in for the interview. So this lady came in, and she mentioned she was there for the interview for whatever. I don't remember the young man's name.
Well, she was coming in as
she was the mother. Okay, and I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm like, is he parking the car or something? And she's like, no, I'm going to be taking the interview. And I'm like, well, what do you mean you're going to be taking the interview? Yeah, he's not going to, I'm going to take the interview for him. And I'm like, well, I need to talk to him because I need to interview him to see if he's going to be fit for this. And she goes, well, I'm going to do the interview for him. And sometimes I can be sarcastic. Okay, so I go, well, will you be coming in and cleaning the urinals for him too? And she goes, oh, he won't be cleaning urinals. And I'm like, well, if he wants to come in, I'm still willing to do the interview with him, but I will not do an interview for your 18-year-old son with you. That blew my mind. Can you imagine applying for a job and having your mom go in and do the interview with you? Isn't that crazy? And it was apparently it wasn't her first interview.
They're doing stuff or they're watching these conversations. Do they understand what a small business is going through? I don't know why I went on this. Oh yeah, about employees. And it's tough back there because I've done it, 12, 16-hour days. And at the end of the day, your shoulder blades are hurting. I mean, it's not the same as working construction, but it's nonstop. If you help just 3 employees, there's work there all day, every day. It will never end. And you have to be like that, because if you go into some places, it stinks. And people always go, why does it stink in here? I'm like, because they don't clean. I mean, there's blood. It's like if this was a hospital, you have to have these
got to get that cleaned out.
Yeah, and it's almost like running a hospital. If you go in somewhere and it smells like bleach and soap, they're doing something right.
Yeah, our place sometimes smells like that.
And but yeah, the same thing with employees is I think because it's a harder job, they think I'm doing all the work and this guy's over there in his office
making all the money. He's banking all that money that I'm making him.
Yeah, but they don't understand like all the other things that you're doing. Like you're trying to grow your business. You have to kind of do social media. You have to do things like this, or else how's anyone going to know what you're doing?
Right.
Even if you do a video, you still have to edit the video. You got to add music to it. You got to release it. It's like it becomes a full-time job. And so I wonder, how do you keep your business growing, Dennis? What is it that you think is making you stay alive for so long? And
I think we're consistent. We try to every year bring in new equipment, get the old out, keep the place clean, and have an atmosphere where anybody can come in and work out and they don't feel intimidated. I think that's the key to longevity. The fads, like the Hollywood diets, I mean, they come and go. But if you stick to like I'm going to work out, I'm going to do this, you'll be healthier, you'll feel better. After people have actually worked out the way they should, do cardio the way they should, they know that's an addictive feeling, and that feeling will keep you healthier. And the healthier you can be, the less it's going to cost you for medical bills. So I don't think there's a specific thing that stands out that we do differently, but we do them consistently, and you have to be consistent. So, you mentioned construction. Did you know that I got my general contractor's license?
Yeah, I think you're telling me, because you're telling me about having Mike on here. He's a rapper, right, Mike?
Yeah.
He's a general contractor.
Mike is also he's a mason contractor.
Mason, okay.
And so Mike is Ombre, and then there's Little Rob. They both take my boot camp class.
Okay, I don't know who Little Rob is, but
he's another rapper. And,
okay,
they might be two good people to have.
Yeah, I'll have him on.
And that I'd like to see that interview.
Yeah, no, because it was a whole traveling thing that was just an issue, because I tried to record at the store, and then I had another guy who has a gym. I don't know if you know who. It's a power lifters gym over here by the old courthouse.
Oh, Ironborn.
Yes. Yeah. And I didn't hit record on the microphones. So, because the thing is, what I do is I use a software to sync up all the cameras, and it replaces it with the microphone, so it gives it clear audio sound.
Okay.
And we were talking for a good 2 hours, and I go, oh my, because I'm always running around. And I forgot, and I had an interview earlier that day, and I completely forgot that he was coming. And so I've had instances like that where I'm just like, geez, I feel so bad. I feel horrible, because I'm like, who knows how much time a person has on hand, and I value that person's time, and I want to portray them in the best way I can, and give them a space where they can talk about them and just keep coming back, because believe it or not, these things make a difference. Like when people know who you are and see and you're real and you're authentic, you're not just trying to become a millionaire, because really not in our industries.
Good luck.
Not really even a farmer, right?
Right. It's tough everywhere.
Yeah, but if you love what you do and you're putting your heart into it, people have to see it and understand that.
Well, see that Mike, he got me into building. Because he builds swimming pools, beautiful, absolutely gorgeous swimming pools and for kitchens and that. And some of his clients needed gates, and he asked, and I go, I could do that for you. I just did it as a friend, you know, and then
I think I've seen some of those pictures. Really nice
it
black.
happened, you know, he wanted another one, and I'm like, well, Mike, I'm not a contractor, I can't, you know, he goes, we'll do it under mine, and I'm like, you know, and it was another contractor friend of mine. He goes, I don't think Mike's contractor's license covers that, you know. So I looked into it, and I know I only built 2 of them, and so, but anyway, I went and got my my contractor's license, so I'm a general contractor, so that I can actually build all this stuff, and you know, it's all legit, and I didn't want to be, you know, going around and doing something that was illegal, and so I studied for my test and went down and took my test, and it was good that I passed it, because I was getting older, so I didn't know if I could remember as much as I used. But that was about 2.5 years ago. No, I think October will be 3 years, and I've been pretty busy. I've been actually more busy doing that than at the gym.
Yeah.
And so I get up about 2:45 and get to the gym a little after 3. I try to stay there till 7:30, 8ish, because we have staff that comes in at 9, and then I go and start the rest of it and work till about 6 at night. So there's a lot of hours, and you know, I've had 4 days off in the last like 8 weeks. So there's a lot of time that you got to dedicate, you know, when you're a small business person, and that there's that saying that, you know, an entrepreneur will work 100 hours a week just so he doesn't have to work 40 for somebody else. And that's true. You have no idea what you do.
Yeah.
You just the amount of time and effort that goes into it. You know, dollar per hour doesn't look as good. But if you love what you're doing, I love it when I finish installing something and the customer's out there and just, oh, we love it. You know, everything works good and everything like that. There's that feeling you get. There's no other feeling like that.
No, there isn't. There isn't.
You built that, you accomplished it. They really appreciate it. It's good quality. It's like, I won't do like a cheap. It's like, if I can't do it exactly the way I would have mine done and to the quality that I would do mine, then I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to put something out there that in 5 years is going to start looking like, oh my God, that thing's going to fall apart. You know, 20, 30 years from now, you know, that's when you should start seeing, you know, the wear and that on the stuff. But that was interesting when you mentioned that contracting and that. And I was like, yeah, that's a funny story getting into contracting. Never ever planned on being a contractor. So.
But you love what you're doing, though, right? Because you said you used to weld before, and it's something similar down those lines.
For 6 or 9 months, I was we were doing structural welding, and
were you always welding like at home, building? Because I know you're into motorcycles and stuff, right?
Motorcycles, yeah. But the gentleman that I got to work with he worked for Chevron for 30 years. And he was the instructor for Chevron, and I got to work hand in hand with him for just about 9 months down there. I mean, this guy, man, it was like just this knowledge. It's like there was no question I could ask that he didn't have the answer, and why there was, you know, it was like that. It's like, geez, you know, it's like when somebody's telling me something, I'm listening. It's like when I was young, I always hung around old people. They always had stories, you know, and they tell you you have all that knowledge. It's all sitting there. You just have to listen to it, and they're always willing to tell you all these great stories and everything they did and what happened, and you just suck that up. It's like you know that you can't buy that education. You know that. Do
you know any of these old people to get them on here so they can inform the viewers?
I think George, the welder, I think he passed because he was just about 70, and this was 20 years ago. That I was at least 20 years ago that I was down there. So I haven't spoken to him for 15 years or so. But you know, the knowledge. It's like, man, when you have that opportunity to talk with somebody that's got that experience, man, take it. It's like you can't get that out of a book. No. So.
You know what? And now that I'm just like thinking about you talking about just the knowledge that older people had because they lived on farms. They fixed tractors, they changed tires.
The jack of all trades.
Yeah, you had to. And like my dad's the same way. He knows how to do all kinds of stuff that I don't know how to tie anything down, and he knows knots and everything, right? And I had a kid on here. His name's Eric Oliver, and he's a local artist, I believe oil. And he was talking about going to Sacramento to learn coding, but he knew nothing about it. And he was just saying it was so hard for it to stick to him because it wasn't something he loved, you know? And I think that's a big mistake with everyone. Everyone's chasing money and it doesn't really buy happiness. It really buys more problems, you know? If by chance you love what you do, it's never a job, you're putting those hours and you're loving what you're doing, sooner or later you'll get some kind of success, right? Kind of like you. I don't know if you were ever at your gym more than 4 hours, but it gives you an opportunity.
The construction stuff, was there way more.
But it gives you
8,
now
10, 12 hours. I mean, there was sometimes I'd be there all night doing stuff.
I mean, I look forward to that day, maybe that I can work 6 hours at the store and be able to, I mean, I'll still always be there training, whatever, looking always to hire people. Like in my mind, I always go, why does this employee have these bad habits? I go, well, maybe I didn't train them well enough and we're too busy and I couldn't. Because sometimes people are restricted the hours they work. I can only work.
Right.
So we accommodate that, but then at the same time, I can't train you, you know? And so I think with the newer people, I'm going to put all my effort into training them so they learn and they're more responsible. And I always put it on myself. I go, okay, well, there's a reason this person has bad habits and everything. But I think just with time, you know, things kind of correct themselves.
Yeah, it takes the right person to want to learn. You can spend, 100 hours on somebody, and if they don't want to learn it, it's going to do you no good.
Yeah.
You spend 2 hours with a person that wants to learn it and have more success than with the other person. So it's going to definitely boil down to what that person's attitudes toward that job.
So Dennis, do you have any parting words for the audience? Anything you'd like to say right here?
Well, never give up. Tomorrow's another day. It's going to come whether you're here or not. So enjoy today because tomorrow is not guaranteed.
And your gym is open 24 hours a day.
It is.
Lock key access, right?
Yes. 24-hour access with the Engage membership. We do staff it from 9 to 7 days a week. But with the Engage, you can go anytime. It never shuts down 365 days a year. I think that's a good benefit. I can never hear the excuse now that you guys weren't open.
Yeah.
I couldn't come in and work out. I never hear that anymore.
That's funny. So one thing I love about Dennis's gym is his dungeon. He has the battle ropes in there. He has a sled. He has TRX, so body weight training.
Functional training. I think that's the big. Everybody's calling it functional training.
How are your shoulders?
It's always been. But I'm good now.
Yeah.
But I don't lift as heavy as I used to. I still try to lift heavy.
If you feel good that day, right?
Yeah, there's days where it's a little lighter, but I still try to go decent weights on stuff. Some of it's still pretty good. Some of it
no benching for you.
I'll do the hammer strength machines.
Okay. That does make a difference.
Yeah.
I've noticed.
Well, because they're
isolated. Do you squeeze your
I probably do.
Because I've changed.
Sometimes I'll pull that neck muscle.
Yeah.
Because you're straining so hard.
But because I had a lot of left shoulder, but I started using I forget what those. It's like is it a steel mace? And I just troll it in the back of my. Okay. It makes a huge. My buddy told me, he's like, yeah, I was having a lot of issues, and because I had these Indian clubs, it was only like a pound, and I think maybe I need to go heavier or something. That was just like different shoulder mobility, and then I started using this steel mace at home, and it really made a huge difference. Like I don't have little or no pain in my shoulder now.
I think the most important thing that a lot of people, and I always push it in class, I'll go, how many of you were stretched yesterday? And nobody ever does. So sometimes I'll make them stretch. You have to stretch every day. It's so important. And you can look, You can do it on your couch.
Yeah.
You can stretch your muscles out on your couch while you're laying and watching your favorite whatever you watch. You don't need to be some place special. You don't need nothing to do it, but you should stretch. It's so important to elongate those muscles, and that I think is the number one thing with any kind of exercises. You got to stretch those muscles out.
So no knee pain, no back pain.
Yeah,
nothing?
I'm getting older. I'm in my 50s now, so I have pains, but it's like I just think.
But what's your opinion on TRT?
TRT?
Testosterone replacement therapy.
Well, if you suffer from low testosterone.
Have you had blood work done? Do you get blood work done?
Yeah, actually, you got to go to the doctor on Thursday. So tomorrow I probably should go in and get.
So your levels have always kind of been consistent. I haven't gotten any done, but
I don't. As far as testosterone, yeah, my testosterone levels are normal for my age.
Yeah. Okay.
So I don't have any issues with that. But I know, what's it? Is that Nugenics? That what Fred Thomas?
No,
I don't know.
I just recently.
Maybe that was that.
I just recently seen people that are in their 50s and like a doctor who's in his 60s saying I should have started when I was 40, just to not to elevate it, but just to kind of get it into your 20s. Like how when you're 20, I don't know what your levels are when you're 20, but just to keep that bone. As long as you could get that bone density, I want to be able to be working into at least my mid 50s, be able to move around and do things.
Yeah, unless your doctor says your testosterone is extremely low, I'd avoid taking testosterone just for the simple fact that if you're taking it and it's in your body, then your body won't produce it. You want your body to continue to produce as much as possible.
Yeah.
And that you don't want it to stop because it's very hard to get the body to start producing it or increasing the levels. So I definitely, consult with a doctor that's knowledgeable on testosterone and only use it if yours are to the point where you're going to start having some issues.
Okay.
But if you're not having issues, don't try to force it higher. If it's just not worth it because you're going to go down the hill faster. Because when your body starts not producing it, then you're going to have to take even more.
Yeah, that's true.
And the last thing you want to do is take pills every day.
Well, I think they're injections.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I just recently found out about it because I remember it used to be like thousands of dollars and now it's like $100. Like recently. And I was like, huh.
So they take that and it's good for like a month or something? Or
I don't know. I really don't know. There's a whole industry with it, like YouTubers and everything. And they
if
always,
you don't have to,
yeah.
do it.
Well, they say get your blood work done first and foremost.
Go to your doctor. And if you're
there's even companies that I don't know how that works.
You can do it through the mail now?
Yeah. I think you go to a lab somewhere around here and then they send it. And and then they give you results and stuff and they kind of break it down like vitamin D and their cholesterol, all those, which I haven't done. I mean, I feel good, but still, if it's something that can kind of boost me up, maybe, I don't know. That's why I was asking. I don't know if you knew anything about it.
I take selenium, zinc, magnesium, turmeric, CoQ10,